These are the antennas. We're going to start sending them to put them in every country. So we are all interconnected. Is the globalization of the San Pedrito?
I ate it once to get off on it. It's an awful way to go. Oh no, this bit. Your stomach doesn't want to accept it. Yeah, you got it in your mouth, and you got to force it down. But then there's more, you know. It's like, and then there's more, and you got to keep doing it until you vomit.
Trying to work with it. There you go. Trying to peel it up. This is the time of no imputations. No more rituals, no more nothing. Just family. Because by eating all the hands of each of us, we're going to be a family.
It's never going to be a street drug. No.
That's true. Okay? Ya está. So you don't forget. This is going to go inside your body. This is going to scan your body. We're going to do a scanning of your body from the inside. Okay? 2 hands. Then I'm going to explain you about the offering. A ver. Circle down, yeah? Let's see. All the ghosts, countless, the hungry ones, the thirsty ones, the scary ones, to all the demons of all kinds, protectors, dakas and dakinis especially, the bliss of the bodhisattvas, inspiration of the warriors. I offer this so that everyone get released of their ignorance and to don't take yourself too serious. Cheer up, man, like this and go. Listen, you continue with the same stories. I've been talking with science people, medicine as amazing as San Pedro. And people take it as a drug. Do whatever it is, just you finish it all, yeah. Get a good flight.
Best stuff, eh?
Yeah, it's like good for
It's beautiful. It's better than a pina colada, man. Yeah, true.
Oh. It's not that it tastes so bad, it's just that the texture is like slimy. Ugh.
Check me what the dog is drinking. Let's give me this look. This is Dean. This is Dean. Aquí está. Okay, Dean, go. Show them. Show them.
My intention is basically to see what the plants have to show me and just to get out of the way as much as possible.
But in a session, because everyone starts purging, all your demons come out, like my mate told me. Somebody's to take out your demons. It's like an exorcism. That's what he say. I'm gonna give you also a smoke in the pipe, so that the smoke are what we call key plants. So sometimes the plant is tied up, and then we give a smoke, and just goes. Yeah. We are the free people. We don't have to put a dogma to this thing. It is as it is. Sun outside, sun inside. I am what I am. I work in automatic. I just have to be aware what I'm doing, what I'm eating, how much, and how little. You know it all always. You see in the mirror and say, you know all your things. It's a time to assume your responsibilities. So we're trying to find solutions outside that is not outside. So this is the teaching of the cactuses, is the puma. Puma faces you, face to face. So it stalks you. You're funny look, maybe I'm not in fashion, maybe I don't like you, maybe I have to pretend to like you. No, you are what you are. Then we cut a lot of stories.
La vida en la mano. Sort of like green granola. Only PACCCHU point.
Like an empty bamboo, cling to knot and remain in the state of isitness. No meditation, no meditator, and nothing in what to meditate.
For the honor of the NEAC. For the honor of the NEAC.
Machu Picchu, Machu Picchu, legítimo maestrito, el Apu Machu Picchu, legítimo maestrito, el Apu Machu Picchu. Ananay, nana, ay, 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 ananay, nana, ay, ay, anay,
I'm the simple one. I'm the one that
Condor vuela, ayariri, ayariri. Condor vuela, ayariri, ayariri. Condor vuela, ayariri, ayariri. Condor vuela, ayariri, ayariri.
Why not PICCHU? Why not PICCHU?
Body, speech, and mind.
Well, for us, this is like the eggs of the snake. Here we are in the world of below. It's the world of the snake. We did the condor up there in the mountains. Here we are in the world of below. And these meteorites, that they preserve certain information just if you're open, no? Or else they're just rocks.
They're meteorites, those.
That's what I think so.
Yeah.
You have to experience it. Could be anything. Really nothing existing. No? But in the relative reality, these are like tools. These meditation spots where you're in the center. So you will get in contact with the snake within. That keeps the pearls of wisdom.
In the windows and the rocks.
Every window has a rock. But I guess this is like ceremonial rocks. So for San Pedro.
And there's a puma face on this end of the rock.
And the puma here.
Yeah.
That's the puma, yeah.
Yeah. That's over here. You make me stand there.
Yeah.
The conspirators came to the planet to try to destroy our connection with this, and our duty is to kick their butts out. And finish with the conspiracy from now. Forget the money. I'm ready to lose it. I already left everything, but I see the rest. I'm ready to lose it all. Well, we have to show everyone that this is a conspiracy to slay the human. It's the truth. Like to be a battery. Lazy mother people. No man, the time has come. It's bad boys, what you gonna do when we come for you?
Now we feel the first stream of air coming by our nose. And we're going to do our work. We're going to get in contact with earth. How we get in contact with water. Open your mouth, go. So these rainbows of wisdom will liberate all sentient beings from the intention of liberation. They're going to be released from their craving to be free from freedom. We want them all to be united. And for that we will cover all the planets, for all sentient beings, all the gods, all the demigods, all the human consciousness and similars, all the animals of the different kingdoms, all the fairies, the Chuyachakis, the gnomes, the smurfs and the little witches and everyone, and the ghosts, and the hungry ghosts and the thirsty ghosts, to everyone, to all the demons of all kinds, to all the bodhisattvas that are still fighting the illusion of samsara, so they may all awaken and prostrate to the universal Jaina. Sing the song of the rainbow mantra. E ai o e ai o e ai o e ai o e ai Now a rainbow body dissolves in open space, and there is now only awareness with no beginning, center, or end. The limitless, luminous space that is there for us to recognize it. We will remain in the state of consciousness clinging to naught and remain at ease, like an hollow bamboo, with no meditation, no meditator, and nothing in what to meditate.
Agarrado, estoy agarrado.
Off the fish we go. Hi-ho, hi-ho. Catch the pescado.
In May 1999, psychedelic explorer Terence McKenna was diagnosed with a brain tumour and given between 3 and 9 months to live. I contacted Terence by email and mentioned that I was making a documentary about shamans of the Amazon and asked if I could meet him and record an interview. Flying back home from the Amazon on December the 9th, 1999, just 4 months before he died, Terence gave me one of his last interviews at his home on the Big Island of Hawaii.
It's too bad we don't have more time.
Terence had tried many natural therapy cures and had also recently undergone gamma knife surgery to try and remove the tumour.
You've been here for a while?
Oh, I finished the house about 2.5 years ago and was here about 2.5 years building it, so.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me get Christy and.
Everyone was hoping for a miracle. Why do you think governments, most governments in fact around the world, have banned ayahuasca and made most psychotropics illegal?
Well, I think a social system is the product of a process of, you could call it social natural selection, that a civilization produces various religious ideas, political ideas. Some survive and some don't. And it's because the social system is applying selective pressure, saying universal medical care for all, we don't need that. Sexual flexibility among teenagers, well, we don't need that. So over time, a social system is built out of what is saved and what is thrown away. And so when you start putting drugs into a social system that actually promote unusual ideas, you're pushing the most important buttons that a society has, the buttons that shape what it believes about life and death and value and marriage and childbearing and all these things. And so that's very sensitive stuff and inevitably becomes a point of contention. And societies will arm wrestle over that, up to and including putting you away for 20 or 30 years for a half a gram of grass or something.
The war on drugs that America's sort of pushing around the world, what do you think the effect is of that, and who's really behind it, do you think?
Well, wasn't the struggle against communism a kind of struggle against ideas and who thinks what and who is permitted to believe that people should be paid more than $3.80 an hour for whatever labor they're asked to do and some of this other stuff. So capitalism, if it doesn't have enemies, it will create enemies. It will point out these people or these people. And so I think it's a thing like that, that it's a struggle to control the political agenda. And I'm not a Marxist, I don't have much patience with that, but I do think how Marxism has talked about the value of work and worth and the productivity of the masses and all that rhetoric carries right over into the so-called war on drugs, which is really a war against other people's values. It's a continuation of the Holocaust and cultural genocide and all the other efforts made by the phenomenal success of capitalism to shove its agenda down other people's throats.
What do you feel about the fact that people could be put in jail for 12 years for drinking this stuff?
Well, it's a disturbing tendency. I mean, it means that at least the US government has made a decision somewhere to push hard against this, which is always the first strategy. The first strategy is push hard against some trivial thing, cannabis or LSD or something like that. And then once defeated in that strategy, then there is usually a period of negotiated, an effort to create some kind of negotiated settlement. And then once that fails, there's usually a squaring off, and the issue is minimalized and translated into something trivial, and we move on to the next great social issue.
Crazy.
It's crazy.
What do you feel about the synthetic DMT and ayahuasca now being available? Do you think that the magic is lost when it's synthesized, and there's no real ritual aspect to the taking of ayahuasca?
Well, it's not so much that the ritual is lost as that the people who are doing the making and the taking and the shaking may not really understand what they're getting into. A drug like synthetic ayahuasca, pharmahuasca, do people realize this is the same thing as has been taken for thousands of years down there? Do they realize its role in shamanic healing and all this? It's just one more example of how everything is desacralized and corrupted, because first ayahuasca has never been heard of, and the next thing you know, everybody wants it because it's all anybody's talking about. So it goes from this mystery to being a kind of a fad or a rage, and then it becomes an income source. And once it becomes an income source, it's a commodity like journalism, sex, aluminum, whatever is being peddled on the open market. I would prefer to see ayahuasca remain at the status, let's say, of peyote, in the, where the native peoples who are into it sort of keep the faith, understand how to make it, and talk about it. And when there's a question as to what it all means, then you go back to those native people and listen to their myth and all that. Mm. There is data to show that ayahuasca is medically effective against malaria and intestinal parasites and things like that. So really, it's a basic part of this native medical system. And if instead of trying to put everybody in prison, we actually try to do research on this stuff and find out how it works and how it affects various conditions, we would probably extract its benefit much more quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so what about the combination of ayahuasca and the psychotria viridis? That seems to be a magic combination. How is it that the DMT is able to be absorbed in the stomach, whereas if you could just explain that relationship?
Well, it involves the interrelationship between a brain-mind system that has had all the monoamine oxidase taken out of it pharmacologically, and say it's safe, it's scary, it's weird, but you're not going to end up in a straitjacket in some back ward. You'll live through this. It's no more terrifying than the world's largest roller coaster or one of those places. So permission is what I find people want from me. They want me to say, yes, I did it. It was very scary. I lived to tell the tale.
That was an experience which I'll never forget.
Showed you there were more rabbits in the field than you thought, right?
I've been wondering how to explain it. I mean, I know it's nearly beyond explanation, but for you, what happens for you when you smoke DMT?
I go to a place where language finds it very hard to pull over and look around. It's almost as though it takes you to a world that is not Englishable, and I suppose Germanable and so forth, but as a native speaker of English, that's what it looks to me like is happening, that the vehicle of language can only...
Breaks down.
Yeah, it breaks down, and no matter how you try and claw the air, it doesn't quite come over and give itself to you. So that's fascinating to me as a writer and a storyteller and someone with an interest in narrative and all that. The idea that there would be realities that you couldn't wrap a description around is fascinating, and it grows more fascinating as life moves along. It seems like a miracle, you know, an absolute miracle of some strange sort in the area of cognitive construction is taking place.
How can someone benefit from that experience?
Well, some philosophers would say such a thing is impossible. There aren't unspeakable realities. Somebody else would say, well, it's this or it's that. So it sheds light on certain questions of philosophy and heuristics and all that seems to me that it gives real answers. I mean, maybe you don't believe these answers, but I know a convincing argument when I see it. And if anybody with argument could do to you what DMT does to you, you'd embrace it in a hurry.
What about ayahuasca? I mean, what do you think are the main benefits from people taking that in a ritualistic sort of context?
Well, we're long away from ritual. And I think rituals are what we need, that's why we create sports leagues and beauty pageants and all these things, simply to reassure ourselves that in these ritual confined spaces, these energies can be held, and it's the part we are most distant from.
And do you think you need a shaman to take you on those rituals, or is the plant itself enough?
No, the plant is more impressive. If it were a shaman, people would say, well, it's show business. I mean, I saw a guy cut a woman in half on stage once, or I saw this, or I saw that. But I think the fact that, in the case of DMT, a match head-sized piece of orange wax can pull your entire philosophical world out from under you in about 15 seconds is very, very interesting. I mean, how long did it take you to learn to talk? 2 years or a year and a half? How long does it take you to DMT? Oh, about 30 seconds, So it's very interesting. We've created enough alienation that it seems as though we are going to explore the uses of these shamanic technologies. So the high-tech culture, the scientific and materialist culture, seems to have made a choice to explore these things. And the shamanic Aboriginal culture seems to have made its choice, but it's going to integrate while we're going to, have another one of these socially destructive debates about law and order and obligation and all the rest of it. That seems to me to be a waste of time.
What do you think ayahuasca has to offer humanity at this point in time, at the change of the millennium?
Well, all boundaries are dissolving. That's what the end of the millennium means. It means that, the tribes of the Amazon basin, the tribes of the New Guinea highlands, the tribes of Oxford and Cambridge, everything is dissolving and humanity is reaching a kind of plural consensus. I mean, even the most sophisticated capitalist, let us say, is aware now that it won't do to cut down all the trees, that that's a mistake. So what's happening is a single human viewpoint is sort of coming into existence, a viewpoint that values nature, values natural resources, and tries to, however clumsily, to make some kind of peace out of the whole human mess that we're now mixed up in. I think what it brings is an empathy to the destruction of the planet. The cutting of a rainforest is suddenly no longer completely abstract. It's actually something you can feel and relate to. And all political change begins with a change of feeling and value. So, if we begin to see the Aboriginal people of every continent as the holders of this knowledge, they will begin to look not so naive, not so foolish or something like that, but actually as sophisticated people who have developed a working relationship with these powers and things. And that's the only way you're going to get real political change on some of these issues. If we were having this discussion 30 years ago, we would not be talking about ayahuasca, we'd be talking about mushrooms and their potential and So I think the plants change, the drugs change, but the challenge stays the same, and the challenge is to build a humane and human world without doing damage to the humanity that's already in it.
So, what's your view for the future? Do you feel confident or pessimistic, optimistic that humanity can take on this challenge?
It requires dedication and intelligence, not so much among our shaman and our inner voyagers, but among the legislators and the people who actually are going to have to make the social change. That's why what goes on in the Netherlands is so important. These are the most liberal people in the world. Well, are they liberal enough to actually change the basic structure of their society? I mean, talk is easy, but can they actually make the change? What they're trying to do is establish the notion of a thought crime, that it's a crime to consider restructuring the state this way or this way. And that will, if we have not learned anything from the 20th century, we should have learned that wars of ideology are hopeless and just bring incredible grief and loss of life. So I'm hoping that what the 21st century can mean is movement beyond ideology and an actual rational, and I think it is rational approach to integrating the irrational into how we think about society, city planning, social management, and all the rest of it.
So what were you saying about the patenting of ayahuasca?
Well, some years ago, a dozen years ago or more, a fellow patented ayahuasca. Somehow this happened. It's not supposed to be possible with plants. And then a group of several South American tribes put a lawsuit on him. And it took a lot of money and years to work this to the Supreme Court. And about 2 weeks ago, the Supreme Court ruled that you can't patent a plant, that a plant is not an invention. It's not made by human genius. It is a product of nature. So no plants can be patented, and that patent was declared void. So that's a good thing. Well, there is a thing called the UN Convention on Narcotics, which was something that when the US and NATO and all that completely controlled the UN, they produced this document, which if you signed it, you were basically joining this club, which said you would commit resources, time, manpower to eradicating all these drugs. And that was pretty much done through the late 50s and then on into the 60s. And then, of course, LSD was very threatening because you can get, 100,000 hits under one postage stamp. Well, for somebody who's trying to control something that they look upon like nerve gas or something, a weapon, quote, weapon, with that kind of a description makes people very nervous indeed. And so it came out of that.
So why do you think psychedelics are so threatening to these establishments?
Because they produce unexpected ideas and conclusions. That's what strange politics does. You go in a Freemason and a Republican, and you come out, God knows what, a polyamorist and an anarchist or something like that.
You talk about the dominator culture in your books. What do you think that has any reasons why these plants have been made illegal?
Yeah, because they nibble away at the edges of orthodoxy. I mean, once you get the idea that a mushroom can talk to you in your native language and propose various things, life never looks quite the same again, I mean, in a sense, you could say civilization was the journey from fairyland to scientific materialism. Well, then there you are. You think you've conquered scientific materialism, but here's a mushroom, here's a vine, here's a morning glory, and they all give you a message back that is just so peculiar, you don't know what to do with it. Well, there's a lot of evidence and discussion about whether or not it gives you telepathic powers or science fiction-like powers. This could be. I mean, two brains 6 feet apart are both biochemical oscillators. I wouldn't consider it a miracle if it were found that brains floating in ayahuasca have a kind of supernatural connection. And if the tendencies of past history are to continue, that's what it would have to be, that we're on the brink of designing drugs, of moving our technological design process to a point where we can actually design drugs that extract power from them that we never had or dreamed of before. And that would carry us well beyond the Industrial Revolution. I mean, that would be the new world.
And just, again, briefly, your recent journey, facing whatever it is that you've faced, death, whatever, I mean, has there been any revelations for you about your journey, about death, about where you're going?
You mean you're referring to the fact that I have glioblastoma multiforme, which is a form of brain cancer? Well, I wish I could say I'd had more insight into death. I've had a fair amount of insight into dying, which I find a very alarming prospect. Death itself is so far beyond ordinary experience. The threat of dying doesn't really move you toward understanding it. Death is the great mystery around which religions are built, and being able to say, I know what it is, I know how it works, is the way you start a congregation and get a little community going. I would say the big surprise for me was I'm not afraid of death the way I thought I would be. It's just such an intellectual question mark that you just move to the next page because there's nothing to be said about death except that it seems to last rather a long time.
If you have one thing that you wanted to say to people from all your learnings that you've had, through your life, what would that one message be to someone?
That following your own curiosity is a better method for exploring the world than any of the methods offered. Sheer curiosity is the thing that I've always let carry me along, and I have no regrets about any of this. I think it's worth the life to put these issues in front of people.